So,
This conference will now be recorded.
Andy, how are you doing today?
Real good. Yeah, happy to be here.
Great.
Should I tell my story?
Well, welcome to the sarcoidosis online support group. And it would be great to hear what your story is, what your challenges are, and we'll go from there.
Sure. It's not actually about me. It's about our adult daughter, who's 25 and may have neurosarcoidosis. And we've been in kind of an 8-year medical crisis of a highly disabled life for her, and we're struggling to support her and find our way. Recently, she had a couple weeks in the hospital due to autoimmune encephalitis. And one outcome of that was that there's probably sarcoidosis. She hasn't yet had the biopsy or some of the other tests, but it's seen as likely. And she's on prednisone, of course, and methotrexate. So the rheumatologist is walking her through that. So we're just at the beginning of this, and I'm here to hear and learn more about it. When she heard I was doing this, she said, "Should I come?" And I said, "Absolutely, if you want to." But she's, of course, been vomiting the last 36 hours, so she can't come.
Right. So I'm very sorry to hear that. I want to acknowledge you for your support of your daughter. I wish her the best on this journey. And so how long, so you're saying that she's just hasn't had the biopsy, but they suspect it's neurosarcoidosis, but it's been a multi-year journey. Has there been other misdiagnoses along the way?
Oh yeah, migraines, um, uh, everything people go through in this journey. I can't remember all the misdiagnoses, but he also has had thoracic outlet syndrome and severe PTSD and from some abuse. But this encephalitis hit her really hard and brought her, she was mute and almost catatonic. And we lived at the hospital for weeks. And since then, it's been still a really bumpy ride.
Did you have any questions for us? I mean, we all have different experiences that you'll hear as we go around, but anything that jumps out at this point that you'd like to hear?
I think I'd like to hear about some of the early steps people make in the meds, and certainly like to hear about people's adjustments in their life circumstances, because our daughter has difficulty holding a job or staying in her college courses. So she's only been able to go to school about a couple classes per year, because most of the time she has to drop out. And same with jobs. So we're facing that she may never be able to work.
Right.
Absorbing it.
Anyone want to start with that? Spencer?
I'll start a little bit. So, I'm also 25, and I was diagnosed pretty early. So I was diagnosed around 3 or 4 years old. So I've been battling this a little bit. But one of the things that I've always found helpful, and Kathleen and Kevin will know this, is find yourself a complex case manager. that'll work, because those complex case managers will translate all that jargon of medical talk that you're probably not used to, that she might not be used to, and turn it into plain English and say, okay, these are the steps we need to do. Okay, this is what they're saying. And I don't know what insurance you have, but if you just call your rheumatologist and say, hey, I need a complex case manager, and if she does it, it's even better, because they'll more likely than not jump on saying, hey, I may know sarcoid, or hey, I'm the complex case manager that specializes in sarcoidosis. And I will tell you from experience, they are probably your #1 resource outside of, the person with sarcoid themselves. I constantly advocate for, your body better than anybody else. So if something is wrong. And then I've been through the ringer on different medications. Currently, right now, is Remicade and methotrexate combination. Those are the two big ones that have been treating me. But I was on Enbrel and Humira, prednisone. I was on prednisone from about 5 years old to about 13. And I'll speak from experience that I don't like prednisone personally. However, I know it does work for everybody else. But it's definitely tough, and I'm currently in the process of applying for disability, because I know I couldn't maintain a job and I couldn't maintain going to school for a long time. And it's an uphill fight, so you just have to sort of be patient. And I know both my parents are, totally understanding. They're like, look, we know this has affected your life. And so they've been my core outside of, friends and doctors. Both my parents have said, look, we're not going to let this define you, but at the same time, we know it exists. So I hope that helps at least a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Andy, how did you find out about this group?
Just in searching for support groups.
On Facebook or just on the internet?
Just on the internet. Yeah.
Okay.
And looking through Stop Sarcoidosis.
So when this meeting is over, and this goes for you too, Robin, if you could send us your email address, we can plug you into the reminders for the next meeting. And for example, the email that went out for this meeting also had a link to the last session that we had, where we had a pulmonologist, a sarcoidosis specialist on, who talked about the treatment regimens, and then we had a 1-hour Ask Me Anything session that was really, really good. And so there's a link to that. It's been recorded. The slide deck is up, and you can just click on it and relive it, and you'll get the same thing. You'll see the same presentation that we arranged for the group about 2 weeks ago. So keep digging. So one of the things for me, I've been diagnosed with sarcoidosis for over 10 years. I was 45 when I got diagnosed. I was in a high-level functioning professional capacity, global responsibility at Siemens for project management. And it was nothing. It was a no-op. They monitored it for years, for 10 years. And actually in 2018, it was getting better. But then in 2020, in January, I was in a motor vehicle accident and things went sideways. So this is like a silent partner that could come out of the woodwork at any time. And for me, I believe the stress of that accident, both physically and mentally, were responsible for causing my sarcoidosis to recharacterize itself. It went from my lungs and lymph nodes into my heart. It almost killed me. I went from no medications in January to having an ICD placed, an implantable cardioversion device in my chest. So in case I fall into atrial fibrillation again, or my ventricular tachycardia comes back, it's there as a backup to shock me back into rhythm. And then I got really, really curious, did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people about what is known about this disease. It's still an enigma to most medical professionals. A lot of doctors had one day of it in med school 20 years ago and have never had to rely on that knowledge since. So there are specialists out there that do, but your average general practitioner, pulmonologist are not aware of this as you would hope. So look for a specialist that understands the disease and the treatment and the monitoring, and they can help walk you through the hopefully successful journey back to a productive life. Advocating for yourself is a big lesson I had from my medical crisis last year, holding my doctors accountable to making decisions on a timely fashion, to communicating with me on a level that I could understand. What Spencer was talking about earlier, a complex case manager, it's a great idea. I couldn't get one. So I had to be my complex case manager. I did have one on my insurance side that was fantastic to kind of pull it all together, things that she could do for me from an insurance side, but from a medical care side, I didn't have a complex case manager that could communicate directly to my team of doctors that I had now.
Kevin,
go ahead.
one thing you might want to try is, and I think Shasta brought it up, that there's places out there that will do it for free. And off the top of my head, I can't think of the name. But I'm spacing on it all of a sudden. They are out there and they will help. So that might be something to look into.
Okay. Well, fortunately, in December of 2020, my last PET scan showed it was clear in my heart. So at that point, I started tapering the prednisone, started taping some other medications, and I am now, rapidly dropping down to, hopefully at the end of the day, I'll be on metoprolol for my heart rate control, and probably Cellcept at some level for immune modulation. And we'll see what else is left over after that. But I'm in a really favorable place right now. So it is possible to come out the other side of this. The other thing that was a major change for me was diet. I was on a typical Western diet for most of my life. Battled with my doctors with cholesterol numbers and reducing red meat and trying to get a handle on that. But other than that, it was Costco is cheaper than Whole Foods, and just not really curious or concerned about what I was putting in my mouth as long as it was food. And I believe that contributed to my flare up as well. So I was doing a lot of things that were inflammatory in my diet. Probably had a lot of insecticides, pesticides, hormones, antibiotics in the food I was eating that was irritating my systems. And then the accident came along and pushed it over the top. So that's what I kind of putting the pieces back together. So I am now on a whole food, organic, if it comes in a package, I don't eat it. It's all roasted vegetables and lean meats and lots of garlic and eating the rainbow. And I think that has contributed every bit as much as all of the molecules I've been taking every morning in terms of my recovery and turning things around. So there are some of the changes that I had to deal with over a 12-month period. So that's my point of view. It is possible to recover. It does take work and a lot of curiosity on either, your daughter's part or on your part helping your daughter, because she may not be in a position where she's got the cognitive wherewithal to do it right now for herself. So she may need some help there.
Sure.
So best of luck with that.
Thank you.
Kathleen, anything to add?
Not really anything to add, just, well, I'd like to rewind a little bit to Spencer with the complex manager. He told me that almost a year ago. I have still been fighting for that in New York State. New York State, it's not seen as being allowable. So I'm still fighting the insurance company, and I'm getting every life involved and everybody else, because there's a lot of us here. So, unfortunately, I've done everything pretty much myself. I have a very big box to my right that has every doctor, from primary, rheumatologists, gynecologists, et cetera, et cetera. So anytime there's a question or something new comes, I fax the paperwork to every single doctor. So just really putting it all together. It is, because we're multi-organed, it's not just possibly neurological. Hopefully that is all, and hopefully you can get it under control. But because we're multi-organed, it makes it even more difficult. So just a quick thing, I was diagnosed definitively 16 years ago, but they believe that I've had it for about 40 years. So it took a real long time. Right, Kevin?
Yeah, I believe I've had it for over 30 years. Looking back at specific medical events that have happened, knowing this disease now, reduced lung function, back in college. It was first detected on a summer co-op job. I think that was the first bit of evidence that pointed to it. I had a biopsy done on a lymph node in 2001 that came back benign, and everyone celebrated and went on. But looking back on it from 2010, it looked like it was sarcoidosis, and had they gone further, they probably could have diagnosed it then, but it would have made no difference. They still wouldn't have treated it until it gets into your, neurosystem, or your heart, or your eyes, or your liver, some life-threatening system, because the cure is worse than the disease.
Right. And just so you both know, I mean, this sounds really negative. I am definitely on disability at this point, but here's the thing. You can live with this and die of a heart attack before you die of sarcoidosis. So it's all about your mindset, connecting, literally. And, Kevin, you were mentioning about advocating for yourself. So I don't know if you saw from ANCAN, we did the advocating.
I did. It was, I signed up for it and I missed it. So I will watch the rewind and look for pulling that out and, taking action on that.
Yeah, so one of the fun things that I had was I got to be moderator. So the first lady who lost her son to RMC, which is renal medullary carcinoma, which is very rare. It's cancer that happens in the middle of the kidney instead of the exterior. So she's an RN as well. And I was very sorry to hear that she lost her son. But one of the first things I asked, I said, okay, so listen, this is one of the things that I am horrible at, advocating for myself. And the reason why I say I'm horrible at it is because let's pretend Kevin is my doctor, my pulmonologist. So that's Dr. Kevin. So he'll say, how's your breathing? It's okay. Are you still struggling going up the stairs? Yep. How many flights? Just like 3 or 4 steps, and I'm already struggling. And he's like, okay. But he didn't really hear me. He heard me, but didn't listen to me. So that listen part is a huge part. So I asked the lady, I said to her, you're an RN, you work in the healthcare facility. So how do I get a doctor to listen to me? You know what she told me? Be aggressive. I'm not aggressive. I need to drag one of you along because I'm just not that girl. So I don't know how to be aggressive, to be 100% honest with you, unless I'm yelling at my husband. So that's something totally
Well,
different.
just picture the doctor as your husband, and he just left the toilet seat up again.
No, that never happens in my house, believe it or not. Go figure. So I'm blessed as far as that's concerned. Go ahead, Robin.
Kathleen, I have found that it's been easier to be more assertive in email to them than it has been face to face with them. And quite recently, actually, I did that and found it was very effective and got the answers that I wanted, got things explained to me the way I wanted them explained to me. I think sometimes, their bedside manners just aren't there. And they don't know.
They're difficult to deal with in person because they have an outsized ego typically. The God complex, the ego, well, you're a patient, I'm the doctor. I'm smarter than you, so I'm just going to listen for the bits I care about and tell you what's up. And a lot of times they miss the point.
So I think they're finding that the follow-up emails after my visits are going to be more frequent.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. Which actually reminded me of something else. So when I got diagnosed with the cardiac sarcoidosis and the heart problems and all of that, I pulled all of my medical doctors into the same system. Well, I didn't pull them in. I had a separate cardiologist team. I had a separate general practitioner. I had the pulmonologist down at Jefferson that I liked, who was my cardiac specialist. I decided to, pick their cardiologist, pick their rheumatologist, pick their, electrophysiologist and psychiatrist and the rest of it, so that I could communicate with everyone and they could see the record, and that I think was very helpful as well. So Robin, why don't you tell us a little about your background when you were diagnosed, and what's up with you?
Thanks, Kevin. I think like everybody else, and looking back, I can see little bits and pieces where I've had this for a really long time. A swollen ankle that hurts, that they ultrasound, they can't find anything wrong with. They do blood work, they can't find anything wrong with. Night sweats. Well, I get told welcome to menopause. That was fun. So I can see little things along the line. But like you, I think what happened was I was also in a car accident. And that kind of jolted everything. And I was very fit and very active. I cycled 30 miles at a time, and I was hiking, and I was very, very, very active. And in 2018, I started noticing a slowdown, and wasn't really sure what that was about. But figure I'm approaching 50. I'm just getting older. I can't run the way I used to. And by 2019. One of my friends that I worked out with, she was noticing that in between strength training sets, I was getting winded. And we weren't sure why. And at the time we were like, we haven't been biking as much. We haven't been, doing as much cardio. You just need to kick up your cardio. And so I'm continuing to try and kick up my cardio. But as I'm biking and I'm cycling, I'm noticing that my speed is down. I'm winded. I'm just not performing the way I used to perform. Enter into that towards the end of 2019, I started getting vertigo, which I kind of ignored for the most part. I have a stressful job. I work hard. It wasn't keeping me from doing anything really, although now looking back on it, I did crash my bike a lot. I did fall off my bike a lot. But what happened was I was about thank goodness, 3 doors down from my house, and I had double vision. And that scared the crap out of me. That, along with a program manager asked me if there was something wrong because I was walking down the hall and I was literally hugging the wall, prompted me to go to my primary care, who was not available. So I saw another doctor. I explained that and the lack of the breathing difficulties and all of that. He focused on the vertigo and said, go see the ENT. To which and I'll be forever grateful to this man, because when everything came back normal and he said, are you still having vertigo? And I said, yeah, I'm still having vertigo. And he's like, I want you to go have an MRI with and without contrast. I want you to have a brain MRI. And then COVID hit, and I couldn't get the MRI. But in the meantime, my symptoms kept progressing and they were weird. It wasn't one thing that kept happening. They were just things that would happen here and there. Again, the vertigo would come and go. My ears would ring, then they wouldn't ring. The constant was the fatigue. I was definitely getting more and more fatigued as time went by. And so as a symptom would come up, I'd go to my primary care and she'd like, okay, let's do some blood work. Oh, you might be anemic. It looks like you're anemic. So B12. Everything could be kind of explained away with something else until I had problems pronouncing words. It's not that I didn't know. I knew what the word was. I couldn't say the word. And as we went through my medication list, she said this could be a side effect of the medication. So we came off of medication and that got better for a little bit, but then it would pop back up every now and then, but the fatigue would never go away, to the point where some days I would finish work and I would crawl up the stairs into bed and I couldn't get out of bed. And the headaches were just excruciating. And I finally called her and I said, there is something wrong with me. And that's the biggest thing, Andy, I will say, is you have to advocate for yourself. I was like, I know the blood work doesn't find anything, but there is something wrong with me. And she said, let's start from the beginning. And we went through the beginning and went through everything. And she said, okay, go get that MRI. The MRI showed inflammation. And as a result, within 3 days, I was hospitalized. I'm very fortunate that I'm not that far from Hopkins, and they diagnosed me in a week. I was there for a week. They ran, I by the way, don't really recommend it. It was the most horrible experience I think I've ever had. I've had more CTs, lumbar punctures, you name it, I had it, because they have to rule out everything else. And I was diagnosed with neurosarcoidosis, with possibly cardiosarcoidosis as well. I was immediately put on prednisone. And this is why I think these groups are so important. I was so scared. They could have told me they were going to pump me with lighter fluid, and I probably would have said, okay. Anything, I thought I was going to die. So, but they pumped me full of prednisone. I'm still on prednisone. I'm now also on Cellcept and Remicade as well. And I feel very grateful that there was no permanent damage at this point, and I'm extremely grateful for that. It's been hard. The diagnosis was in September 2020, and it's hard going from someone who could ride 30 miles, 50 miles at a time, to some days not being able to walk a mile. And I know some people who are healthy can't walk a mile. But that's been a struggle for me, is coming up with being able to be grateful for the things that I can do and find enjoyment in the things that I can do. But now that I've kind of come out of that fog a little bit, where I'm not just accepting everything that they say, because at the end of the day, they don't know. They really don't know. There just aren't enough of us who have this. And my neurologist, bless his heart, was very upfront about that. I said, what's my prognosis? What do you think? Do you think this will work? He said, there's no clinical trials. I have nothing clinical to go on other than my experience. And this is what my experience says. I also think, like they've all said, if not a case manager, having your doctors connected is very important. I actually fired some doctors and took others based on my team, and I have a whole team now, whether I've got it in a system that they know of or not. I have an ophthalmologist and a dermatologist, and I mean, I got them all. But they're all connected to each other, and they all talk to each other and know about sarcoidosis. I find that makes it, and sometimes it's easier and sometimes it isn't, because sometimes they aren't on the same page because they're only focused on that one area. So the neuro will only be focused on what the neuro is, and then the pulmonologist is going to come and the cardiologist is coming. They're going to tell you something different. You're going to go, wait, the neurologist said I was doing great. You're like, yeah, but you also have it here. And so sometimes you'll get some conflicting stuff, but having that coordination, I think, is important, and not being afraid to fire somebody that isn't doing well for you. It's not going to hurt their feelings, trust me.
Well, thank you very much for that share. Sorry to hear what you went through. I think a lot of us have similar experiences. I would say advocating for yourself is really important. The one thing that really resonated with me was the fatigue. I lost 2020. Like May through November was just, get up, lay down, get up, lay down. I was totally non-functional. By August, I had applied for disability. By September, I was approved and was, trying to figure out what it all meant. So the fatigue for me, and I don't have any medical, just knowing my body and my experience, I believe when the disease is active, when I say active, I mean you're actively forming granulomas in your body somewhere, in your nervous system, in your lungs, in your lymph nodes, in your heart. That's when fatigue sets in, because that process is consuming so much energy. And it's the sugar-based, sucrose, the easy energy is what it's using. So there's nothing left for you at the end of the day. That's my observation. The other thing, there's a large, very high probability when you have sarcoidosis in more than one area of your body that you should probably be looking at some sort of counselor, psychiatrist, psychologist, some sort of mental health professional to look out for your thinking, your mental health. I know I went through very deep depression when I was going through this, and a large part of it was these granulomas secrete very strong chemical signals in your body, and they affect your brain chemistry and can induce depression and anxiety and manic, and the meds also do it. And the fact that you're lost the ability to bike 50 miles or run 5 miles, a lot of things are adding up that can lead to mental health issues. And you add on top of it the pandemic last year, the isolation, all of that. It was a rough ride. I'm very grateful for my mental health professionals as well, and they really helped me through a very bleak, dark time in the middle of last year.
Yeah.
And so if you see any sign of that, don't be foolish like I was and say, you know what, mental health, that's not me. I'm a professional. I'm responsible for this and that. And, I've handled worse. And it really wasn't a matter of personal choice. It was these chemicals just messing with your head, and it was horrible. So that was the things that rang true for me.
Yeah, and Kevin, I'll second that, because as most of you know, I was, constantly out and about doing things in that early 2019, and I kept everybody on the Sarcoid page pretty informed in my life. 2020 hit, and I used to play baseball every day. I'd go to the basketball court, do everything that I normally would up until 2019, 2018-ish, and I kind of just hit a wall. It was, December of last year was kind of okay, this is my done point. And thankfully, both my parents are here, and I ran to my mom. I'm like, I can't do this. Like I've hit rock bottom, and thanks to both psychology and everybody else, all my other doctors, I've pulled myself through it, but it's still there. It's that's the fatigue's there. There's days I don't want to get out of bed. There's days that I'm like, well, I have to at least get out of bed, if nothing else. I can sit on the couch, but as long as I'm out of bed, that's kind of where I've pushed myself. I have to do something, even if it's walk downstairs. And Kevin hit it on the head. The granulomas hit, and this could easily be, it's there one day, gone the next, there one day, gone the next with sarcoid. And my rheumatology doctor has been like, well, you're doing great, but it's still there. And so we constantly monitoring blood work, and he doesn't call unless, my blood work is way out of whack. Nurses will call and be like, hey, your blood work's a little bit off. I'm like, off for me or off from the, and I have charts upon charts of all my blood work probably since I was 7 or 8 and could start reading them myself. And Andy, one of my biggest things, at least on the parental side, is it's know the disease as well as your daughter might. She may not know this fully, but if you help and your wife helps, build that support with her. And you seem like you're doing a great job at that, but be there for her as that support system. Like, hey, Dad, something's not right. Something, help me research this. That's my biggest thing. And Kevin does a lot of research. I dig into a lot of, arts and stuff. And for those who maybe they need their doctors to talk to somebody, is Dr. Ragu over at UW Seattle. He's the pulmonology sarcoid specialist. And I mean, one Google of him, he's the first one that pops up. Tell your doctor, hey, this is the specialist. They'll probably know who he is, and tell them, hey, can you at least consult with this doctor?
Robin, did you have any questions?
My biggest question is really, how do you talk to the doctors? I don't even know. There's so little out there, and I mean, I'm on PubMed. I read all the time. I have a background in nutrition, and I never know what to ask them. I really never know. And Spencer, thank you about the complex case manager, because I have looked into it. It's been very difficult to get the insurance company to follow through on that. And so I have had to become kind of spend my time doing my own research and trying to figure out what this means. And, I sit down with someone, I'm like, okay, what do you think that means? But I never know what to ask, and the epiphany that I had over the last week or so was that I was really letting the disease and the doctors drive me, because to be quite honest, it was kind of like a gut punch. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it is. And you certainly wouldn't expect that you would become an episode of House. So, I mean, right?
Sarcoidosis. Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah, exactly.
The best advice I ever got was from a doctor who said, there's no dumb questions, mama bear it. Basically, go in, any question you might have, ask it. Doctors may look at you funny, but you need that clairvoyance of, hey, this is what this is. And don't be afraid to mama bear it, for lack of a better term. Go in there and push back and say, no, what's better? What's better? What's our catch here? I've learned that probably over my lifetime, and especially seeing doctors solo now, since I was 16, is be that person to push back and push hard. Don't stop pushing.
Thank you.
And Robin, are you on the Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research?
I am.
Okay. Because there's a lot of information there as well as webinars. Yes. So definitely delve in. And this is a great place as well. We're not doctors, but we're patients trying to help patients.
Right.
One housekeeping note. For Andy, I see a new Donna and Robin. Even though this is recorded, I would like to introduce you. See, and Rick is there, and he is the benefactor that allows us to run these support groups for free. So he is like, woo! And he always stops in every once in a while that he can. But the reason why we tape it, record it, is only for us to see. So it will only go up on Stronger Than Sarcoidosis site. It will not go anywhere else. You're not going to find it on Facebook. You're not going to see your face on Facebook. So no worries about that. Sorry, Kevin, go ahead. There is a
Okay.
Donna.
Well, that was, good share, good to meet you guys. Welcome to the community, and, reach out if you have any questions. We meet the first Tuesday and third Thursday of every month. If you get signed up on the mailing list, Rick will send out a reminder. Hey, there's a meeting this evening at 7 p.m. and here's some of the great things that happened last time. So if you could, Kathleen, how do we normally take the emails? How do we put them in the chat?
We can put them in the chat, absolutely, because then Rick and Alexa can see it.
Okay, so if you look at your screen, there's a little chat bubble. I see Robin's email going up there, and then Andy, if you could put your email or your daughter's email, we'll make sure they're included in the next batch of emails going out to remind them of the next meeting. So thank you for that.
And also don't forget to join Stronger Than Sarcoidosis.
Yes, there's a lot of good
That's
information in there as well.
a lot.
So Spencer, what's new with you?
Lots of things, actually. Lots of new, exciting stuff, sarcoid based. So I hit on it earlier, had to deal with a lot of mental health stuff. And then I'm now officially with my lawyer applying for a court hearing for disability.
Great.
But the fun part is that they're like, hey, we're going to have it here in Spokane. Oh, now we're going to send it to Dallas. Oh, no, we're going to send it to Gainesville. Oh, Gainesville to DC, and then nothing. And so I just kind of shook my head. I'm like, well, welcome to 2020 continued, featuring 2021. And I mean, dragging my feet. They finally said, hey, we received the court hearing appeal. Please give us 6 to 8 months to respond back. So it's a lot of thumb twiddling, and then trying my best to get out and at least walk down my street and back. It's not always easy. I do what I can. And I'm always here for people as kind of being an advocate, somebody to bounce it off of, because I've dealt with it my whole life pretty much.
And we appreciate that.
Yeah.
And good luck with your disability here.
Yeah. Other than that, kind of everything's up in the air. We're twiddling our thumbs and waiting.
So Andy, I think the takeaway there was, if your daughter feels that she needs to go down that path, the first thing you do is hire a lawyer. And they're all pretty much the same. They take a cut of your first disbursement, and it's money well spent. They'll keep you out of the traps and the pitfalls, and kind of give you some advice on how to answer the questions honestly but helpfully for your case, and definitely improve your odds of getting it sooner rather than later. So
one thing I want to add, Kevin, is I don't know how necessarily, Andy, your insurance works, but I'm on my father has Kaiser, and up until you're 26, you stay on your parents' health plan, unless told otherwise by the employee to the employer or the insurance company, and that's pretty quick to get done. I would always say talk to your HR about that and see what you can do. It does help because it could be more efficient or whatever it may be, the case for you. But that's something I've had to deal with this year especially.
Thanks.
All right. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Hi, Donna.
Hello.
Hello. I was going to say you're on mute, but I see you knew that.
Yeah.
Is this your first meeting?
It is my first meeting because I'm a fairly newly diagnosed person. and just because of I just have cutaneous, but just because of the way that the doctor treated me, it's like I want to find out all I can about this disease. And so that's why I kind of joined, because this is how I'm getting my information, because the doctors don't seem to know that much. So I appreciate all of the resources that you all have provided.
Well, welcome to the group. How long have you been diagnosed with sarcoidosis?
I got the diagnosis in November, but I've had the lesions for probably, I've known of them for a couple of years, but they're on my back, so I didn't know, you don't really see that. And so when I did the round of tests, you get sent to the dermatologist, and when I was sent to the pulmonologist for the baseline testing, I was asking questions, and he told me that my fatigue and my muscle aches and pains were not related to the sarcoidosis, and that I should just go, and this will probably just go away on its own, and I should just go and live my life and not worry about it. And so then when I met you all, it's like, no, this is not all in my head. This is real. This pain is real. And so anyway, so that's why I'm here. And it's like, I feel like I'm healthy enough that if I can get involved and do something to help everybody else, then that's what I should do, because you all have been so helpful to me.
It's a lot of positive vibes you get when you're giving back and helping others. And, it's all part of the overall mental health picture that's important.
It is.
Do you have it anywhere else in your body?
Not that they did, if nothing showed up. We had to do an echocardiogram and the lungs. So far it's nothing. And the dermatologist put me on minocycline, and that has helped the pain. I've been on that for a couple of months, and about 6 weeks in, my joint pain got better. But like you all, it's like I don't have any. I think this is the big part that I'm seeing as a new person, is what everybody else is talking about too, is that you don't have anybody overseeing the care. And that's a hard part to navigate on your own. The pulmonologist is telling me, oh, you're fine, go home, live your life, don't worry about it. The dermatologist, she's only looking at the skin. My regular doctor doesn't know anything about it. So I started working with the functional medicine doctor, and we're doing the diet, the autoimmune protocol diet.
Okay.
So it's the autoimmune protocol of paleo. So I'm probably going to die from starvation. Not sarcoidosis, it's going to be starvation.
It gets better. So if you could, if you're interested in reminders for this and the resources, if you could put your email in the chat session, we will capture that and put you on the distribution list so you don't miss the next meeting.
I will do that.
That'd be great. And I appreciate you joining the group and sharing that with us. And hopefully it stays stable and doesn't get anywhere else in your body, because things start getting crazy after that.
I think that's the takeaway, is that when the pulmonologist says that, and it's like, it may be fine, I may be fine, but this is a reality of what can happen, and you need to know, you need to have information. It's your body, you need to have information about the disease, and that's information is power.
Right.
That's the message.
And that is the crazy thing. My mother actually has pulmonary sarcoidosis, but has never been medicated for it. She's been fine. Actually had it diagnosed by accident. She had a large lymph node, and someone said that doesn't look right, and ended up with a biopsy, and that's how she found out. And other than an inhaler, she's never even had a problem, as a matter of fact. And it's true. It's because I think the biggest thing, Donna, is it's so different in everybody. And you could be fine, but you could not be. You just don't know.
And it could change quickly. You
need to know what to look out for. It's like you don't want to live in fear, but you need to know, okay, if I start feeling this way, I need to get this checked. Not, okay, I'm fine, let me go live my life. But I like you all, I was very active. I kayaked every weekend. And last summer I went once. And, it's so hard because it just takes away. It takes away so much of you. Because, and my friends are all out having, even in the pandemic, you know, you can kayak in a pandemic, but so anyway, it's better this year and manageable and
Well, hang in
moving
there.
forward.
And I would, one thing, I'm not sure when you joined, but earlier we were talking about fatigue as an indicator that your sarcoidosis is active,
Okay.
actively creating granulomas, in your case, in your skin.
Mm-hmm.
That could be an indicator that things are active, and maybe whatever the cause is, if you could avoid it, maybe it's diet. For me, I knew by accident that carbohydrates, high carb diet, a Western diet, bread, beer, etc., was a big cause of inflammation for me. And just the way they found it initially, and the way it would come back in my hand, and I would get like a lump in my hand that would get worse when I would start eating a lot of carbs. So for me, it's been paleo / keto / intermittent fasting, and now it's more whole food. And AIP is one. WAL protocol, WAHL. She's a fascinating case study. She had MS. She was a medical doctor. And went out and researched, and followed the Western approach, did all the right things, and it was progressing. And she lost function in her legs. She was in a wheelchair, and said, "I don't accept this," and did a lot of research, and changed her diet, and reversed multiple sclerosis. It's like one of the only cases that's ever happened, because it's typically a one-way path, like Parkinson's or
Right.
And she wrote a book and has a protocol and a website, and they're all singing the same song. It's whole foods, stay away from industrial food. So just packaged meat, not good enough. It has to be grass-fed and range-grown. These things are important because all the hormones they give it, that ends up in your body, and some people are sensitive to it. And
It's so hard to
adds up.
do when you don't feel good,
Yes, it is.
when you don't feel like cooking.
Yeah, you'll find a way through it. I roast a lot of vegetables at one time, and then they're easy to reheat, and you're sticking with your diet, and it takes 20 minutes for dinner. So there are ways to do it.
Yeah. I do have one other thing, and I'll stop dominating the conversation here. But when last summer I had an appendicitis attack, but there was no indication that it was my appendix. It was like it wrapped around the small bowel, and the skin cancer dermatologist said that he thought that was a sarcoidosis issue. Does that is because he said it can do just weird things to your body.
That's why they call it the snowflake disease.
Yeah.
Because it's different in everyone. Every snowflake is unique, and every person that has sarcoidosis has a unique path to take with this insidious disease. It can show up differently. It can be stable for 10 years, and then, like my case, I was stable for 10 years, like Robin's mother, no treatment, had an inhaler, and then boom, had a motor vehicle accident, and it ended up in my heart. So it can turn on a dime. It has a lot to do with stress. It has a lot to do with diet and exercise, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor. But I do know meditation has been extremely helpful to me in calming my body and calming my mind. I can't swear that was the root cause, of getting better. I don't know if it was diet or, 9 months on massive doses of prednisone. But I am, head and shoulders above where I was 9 months ago. So it's possible. And, they were the three main pillars that I ended up pulling on to try and get control of my health. Meditation, diet, and exercise. All right, so we have about 25 minutes left. Anyone else have something to add? Kathleen, how have you been doing? I know you've missed a few, but you seem your perky self now. Welcome back.
Well, thanks. I'm not quite there yet, but so similarly, I had a biopsy, but I had to have it gynecologically. I know, guys, you don't need to worry about this, but I will talk to the ladies. So because sarcoidosis can be in all of our body, I'm going to be, thank you, Kevin. I don't know if everybody saw, but he was like, I don't want to hear it. I'll be 57 in November, and all of us, so I've been in menopause for quite a few years, and all of a sudden I was bleeding and cramping. What the heck? Okay, so cart my butt down to the gynecologist. She's like, oh, I called it a period. She called it bleeding. Okay, well, here's the thing. If I'm bleeding for 5 days, what do we all call that?
It's a period.
Thank you. So I not only did it once, but I did it 2 times, and it was 26 days apart. Well, what do you think? So, of course, they're going to biopsy. So what does Kathleen do? I'm a little bit over the top at times. I get on the NIH site, and I'm researching, and PS, sure enough, it shows that if sarcoidosis can be in any part of your body, it'll be in every part of your body. So, possibility. I'm sorry, I'm getting major feedback. There we go. So what happened was they did a biopsy, which was really so not cool. I'm not going to tell the guys about it. Just don't ever get one of these for ladies. So I sent them the 3 articles from the NIH. Specifically says that it could be in these areas, our ovaries, our fallopian tubes, our uterus, the whole 9 yards. Okay, so I sent it to the doctor. I go to the doctor because it was the 2nd time I was bleeding, and I said, did you get my papers? No. Isn't it scanned in my chart? No. Oh, good thing I have a copy with me. So I answered it. Okay, I was being proactive, true or false. So, because they don't know about sarcoidosis. So I leave, I had a biopsy date. PS, 2 days after my first bleeding, I got a yeast infection on my skin, not under my breast, on my rib cage. It eventually went underneath my breast, and eventually it gave me a full-blown yeast infection, which I'm still battling, by the way. That's since May 12th.
Oh, wow.
So I'm doing creams. Yeah, it's too long. Exactly, Donna. Way too long. So they did the biopsy. I reminded the doctor, you have to sign the form with the biopsy. So I wrote on there, end biopsy for sarcoidosis. And I initialed it, showed the doctor, showed the MA, said, okay, scan it into my chart. I'm good to go. They get a very small biopsy because so much went wrong that day, but that's beside the point. They send it out to the lab. I get the lab report. I don't have cancer. Well, I kind of knew that one already. What about sarcoidosis? Oh, they didn't test for sarcoidosis. Well, I believe that's a malpractice suit because the form that I filled out that the doctor knew, it's all over my chart that I insisted upon the sarcoidosis. So they called the lab back. Lab doesn't have enough of a sample left. So I would
So you
have to
gotta
go
do
into
it
the
again.
biopsy again. I am not doing that one again. They
I had
forgot to tell
that.
me, you have one?
I've had a biopsy, yeah, because I had. So yeah, this is making me wonder if I've had this for years because yeah, the similar thing happened to me, and I did end up having the biopsy. It hurt.
I had it too.
It's like pinching your soul.
Oh.
Okay, so gentlemen, for all intents and purposes, there's no numbing agent, okay, whatsoever. All right, and then they stick this thing all the way up. All right. Now, I've never had a normal birth. I had 2 C-sections. So my cervix is like this. And doctor's like, didn't they give you something to open you? Nobody gave me anything. I go, why don't we do this? Why don't we cancel it? Give it to me, and we'll redo this. She goes, oh, no, didn't you take the Tylenol? No, nobody told me about Tylenol either.
And
So-
we all know
Yes.
Tylenol doesn't work.
Spencer?
Sometimes.
Spencer, I was screaming horrible words, just screaming the F word. Every word was F, 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 F. It
Every
hurt
4
so
letters,
badly.
right?
Oh, yeah. It hurt like the mother flippity flop. I will never, ever do that again if you pay me to. So then the doctor looks at me. She goes, well, you know, I should get a better sample. Let me try it again. I looked at her, I go, hell no. I go, you know what? Let me try it on you. Just walk me through it. It should be no big deal. I work in the medical field. So she wouldn't let me do it, but that's beside the point. So I told her, I said, you will never do this ever again. Well, you don't want me to have to take you to a hospital. I go and do 5, 4, 3. Yes, I do.
Yeah. I would never
I
do it
would.
again.
Oh my God, Rob and Donna, I wish I had known you like 2 months ago.
I did it twice.
You went for a second time? God
They
bless
did.
you.
Well, she went in twice because she didn't get enough the first time.
I wouldn't let her go in again. No way are you breaking into my cervix again. Hell no.
So I openly joke that we all have to become doctors without getting our medical degrees, because you have to know everything. You know, everything that ends in ology, you must know, regardless if it affects you or not, because it could. You know, my mom and I constantly joke, we're like, you know, we have our PhDs in every medical field humanly possible, and we've not gone to school for it.
Have a Google MD.
Yeah, exactly.
So Kevin, I am doing better as far as that's concerned. I still got some weird things going on, but you know, and Donna, I was first diagnosed with sarcoidosis of my skin. So I feel your pain because those suckers are super itchy, man.
I don't itch. I
Oh, look at
don't.
you.
I have had eczema. I have alpha gal also, and so just you always wonder like, are there links between these things? But I have Googled and I haven't found anything. But with the alpha gal, I mean, I was covered in eczema. The doctor's like, "Oh, you poor thing." I was like, "I don't itch," so it's just weird.
Oh, God bless
So
you. 'Cause
yeah, they hurt. If you touch one, it hurts like crazy, but they don't itch.
Yeah,
yeah, mine's itchy and painful. So
Yeah.
I'm
I
coming
feel
out
you,
the other
Kathy.
end finally, Kevin, but I didn't want to miss another one, so that's why I'm hopping in. And I was here
No.
for your doctor.
Oh, yes, I recall that. That
Yeah,
was a great session, you know, and
it
I'm
really
glad we were
was.
able to get his slides and we got the whole presentation and Q&A up there on the Ancan site. And I think you also have it up on Stronger Than Sarcoidosis.
Yes.
Donna, just a housekeeping item. If we could get your email in the chat session, we
Okay.
can add you to the distribution list for notifications of upcoming events related to
Okay.
sarcoidosis.
Do it right now.
Okay, great.
Can I ask a
Appreciate that.
question?
Yes.
I actually wanted to ask a question of Andy because he's there to support his daughter, and I know we're here to support each other. But is there anything else, Andy, that we can do to support you? Because I know I worry very much about my family. And I think about the time I'm very grateful that I am as mobile as I am now and I'm as capable as I am now. And I worry. And I worry the toll that it takes on them mentally. And so, don't forget about yourself, but, what can we do to help you and support you?
Oh, thank you so much. You're already doing it, just sharing your stories, telling me what has worked, what hasn't, stressing advocacy. All of this is what I need. I'm a psychologist, so I appreciate what you all are saying about the mental health point of view. And being a psychologist doesn't make me at all immune to the stresses of this. So yeah, I have to. But thank you. I appreciate it. I'll think about it. Maybe I'll present some questions next time.
I was thinking that right now that it might be really helpful to hear from you from a psychologist perspective in managing disease and dealing with doctors and loss of function and those types of things. I think they call it ambiguous loss is the one thing that came up in my research, where it's just like, I just feel blue because I don't know why. But then you think about it and it's, I don't know if I'll ever be skiing again, or, I know I won't be playing soccer, but, I used to be a big bicyclist up and down the trail in the city and things like that. And I don't feel my lung function and body function is there yet. I had so much muscle loss from all the prednisone. It was I missed that. So, that would be really helpful if you could think of things that you could share that would be helpful for the group. That'd be great.
Sure. Maybe sometime in the future when I have thoughts more together.
That would be really useful. Thank you.
Kevin, could I mention just two things to everybody?
Yep.
One is that on the FSR site, there is currently a
We can't hear you, Kathleen.
You went on mute, Kathleen.
sorry.
There you go.
That was pretty funny, actually. So Novartis is partnering with Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research on a new clinical trial. So you could definitely go on the FSR site. It's mainly for pulmonary, and it looks like you have to be on prednisone. So I know that that's probably not most of us. And if anybody's friends on Stronger Than Sarcoidosis, you'll see it going up in the next couple of days. Every Life Foundation and Stronger Than Sarcoidosis, we're working on a letter to our senators because they're trying to make they already have 4 senators for a bipartisan bill to make permanent Medicare flexibilities for telehealth and audio services. So in essence, what they're trying to do is shut down telehealth. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not ready to get rid of telehealth yet. So it'll just be a simple, it'll be a simple form letter. You add in your senator, you add in your name, and you email it to them. Whoosh, it's gone. So we'll put that up on Stronger Than Sarcoidosis when it comes out. But that's important. I don't want telehealth to go bye-bye.
Me either. It's fabulous.
Those things that came out of the pandemic.
I love it. There's no reason to go backwards.
Right.
So thank you so much. Those are the only two things that I had.
All right, the floor is open. Anyone else have something to share?
Sarcoidosis rots.
Yeah, nothing on my end. I'm good here.
Good here, Spencer.
Yeah, and Donna, I'm also on the sarcoid support group. If you ever have questions, reach out. But like I said earlier, I've been dealing with this since I was 4 years old. I'm now 25, so I've been through the ringer. I've seen it all, done it all, and this goes for everybody. If you have questions, Kevin's a great resource, Kathleen's a great resource, and I'm always here as needed.
Kathleen was the one, she shared something on I was looking for information and I found a sarcoidosis support group on Facebook, and Kathleen shared that the last session that you did, the informational one, and that was more of a public, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because I sent that to my to the pulmonary doctor. I sent him the link for that, and I told him, when I was in your office, this is what you said. Surprisingly, these are the fatigue and muscle pain and joint aches are the primary things. This is a really good resource for other patients, and so I was trying to educate him, even though he just probably said, he was blaming it on COVID and probably because I'm fat, but they moved my office next door to my refrigerator in March. So what are you going to do?
And you know what? When you don't have something else that you love and you can't go out walking or kayaking like you do, as Kevin said, instead of reaching for the chips in a bag, go to Whole Foods and pick up something that you definitely like to snack on. And I've actually lost weight during the pandemic, and it was following kind of what Kevin was talking about the whole year, and just kind of, I have been clean for a couple of years, except I still like my ice cream and stuff. So you gotta put it up there.
Hey, you gotta have cheat days once in a while.
I know. I know there's Rebel, but you know what? Rebel just doesn't cut it for me sometimes. Sometimes I gotta bring chocolate syrup, you know.
Well, in a month I'll
feel
report
good.
back. I'll report back and let you know if I've survived that. But no, the whole thing with the last year was that I'm so fortunate that the symptoms were activated while I was able to take my 2-hour naps every day. So that is, there are blessings that I didn't have to struggle through being at work. I don't know how people do it. And it's not like I didn't go to bed on time. It's, you know the feeling where you could lie down on the couch in the middle of the day and you have to make yourself get up.
Yes.
Which that's not a normal thing.
No. May I ask where the three of you are from? Donna, where are you from?
I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Oh, okay. So I have a girlfriend in Virginia, but she's near Richmond. Because I was thinking of going. You have, how far are you away from Richmond?
I was going to
An
say
hour.
that
It's an hour.
VCU has a sarcoidosis clinic.
Yes, VCU has got a very solid sarcoidosis clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking of going to visit my girlfriend and trying to get everybody, because unfortunately here in New York, like Kevin said, trying to get it all into one group hasn't worked for me. I have tried year after year after year.
My plan is to see how I'm feeling better, see how my symptoms are, and then when I go back, I have to go back in a year for the test again. If there's anything that changes, then I will go to VCU or a place like that. I'm gonna definitely seek better care.
Good.
Where are you from in New York?
Long Island, New York.
Long Island.
Yep.
That's how we say it in the South.
So I do have Manhattan, and I do have a Mount Sinai doctor, but that's just my sarcoidosis specialist, my neurologist, my electrophysiologist. They don't have anybody else with sarcoidosis there. So then I've come to the island and trying to find people. Hassle. So Kevin is 100, and Spencer are 100% correct. If you can get them all together in one group, a WASOG, WASOG, or sarcoidosis clinic, go for it.
Okay.
Robin,
How about you,
where
Robin? Where are you?
I'm right outside of Baltimore, but my family is actually in Richmond and Charlottesville.
Oh,
wow.
okay. Where are they in Charlottesville?
They just moved out there. They're not in the city. They're like on a mountain somewhere.
Oh, I'm on a mountain somewhere.
Like outside of Charlottesville.
Monticello Mountain near Thomas Jefferson.
Yes, they're near Thomas Jefferson. I like this.
Yeah, he's my bud.
And Andy, how about you? Where are you from?
I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay.
As an Ohio State fan, I have to hurt a little bit, so that's my commentary on that.
So Spencer, where are you from? Spencer and Kevin, I didn't know where. I don't know where.
I'm out just south of Seattle, out near JBLM. So, yeah.
Out in the heat dome?
Yeah, out in the heat dome.
And I'm currently just southeast of Elsa right now. I'm down in Naples, but I'll be returning to Philadelphia in a week or so, maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know. All right, well, it's great seeing everyone. Keep up your spirits. Our next meeting is the 3rd Thursday of July, and you'll be on the email distribution list, and we'll hope to see you there.
All right, thanks.
By the way.
All right.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice meeting everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Be safe. Bye.
Thanks.
See you, Kathleen.